Welcome back to another episode of Excuse My Grandma. It's Kim and my co-host,
Grandma Gail.
So this week we have on a Real Housewife. You guys know that I am obsessed with reality television. And Caroline Stanbury, she's on the Real Housewives of Dubai, which is currently airing in its first season. But she used to be on a show called Ladies of London on Bravo that I loved back in the day.
Well, and not having ever seen any of the things she's done, I'm really excited to speak to her.
Okay. All right, guys, we are joined by Caroline Stanbury, one of the Real Housewives of Dubai. You may have known her from Ladies of London back in the day. She also has her podcast, Divorced Not Dead, which I am obsessed with. And Caroline, thanks for joining us.
Thanks, Caroline.
Thank you for having me. I know. Well, I mean, actually, after seeing a little bit about you two, you need to be on Divorced Not Dead. The two of you dating is hilarious.
Thank you. Well, I'm not married yet, and Grandma's been married 58 years.
Correct, almost 59. So I don't think it's time for me to get a divorce now.
Oh, you're not too late. Yeah, stick with him. Stick with
That's
him.
it. I may as well. The next,
No, but
next time we're at the cemetery.
What did I saw a clip then of you guys playing with? It must have been a dating app.
Oh, yes.
Probably. We do that a lot.
That's our constant conversation is her dating life and my reaction.
Yeah. But what's interesting to me, actually, Caroline, like you often talk about how you don't really need to be with like one person your entire life and that there's kind of new chapters. You've started a new chapter. Grandma Gail has a completely different view on it.
I've only had one chapter, so I can't, that's neither good nor bad. I mean, it's just the way it is.
When did you adopt that mindset?
Different generation. My grandmother and my mother would probably be with Grandma Gail, but I think I have a completely different mindset, and I've had it not probably till I was mid-30s, and I realized actually. Well, I mean, I think growing up, that this whole thing of like, obviously, this thing of like, if you have more than one boyfriend, you're a whore. My grandmother used to say to me every time, she's like, I hope you're not going to go out and meet the boy. You know, he should come and pick you up. I said, Grandma, if I waited for him to pick me up, I wouldn't leave the house.
Right.
It's the same conversation.
Yeah, it doesn't work like that anymore. And I realized that we're setting, then I watched my grandparents, obviously, and they actually, when they did pass away, they passed away within a week of each other, pretty much, just because, they were each other's first. And I suppose being without each other was just too hard. But I just believe today, with the way we live, also with mobile phones, dating apps, the internet, TV, life is just, it's much more open, and it's just, there's so much choice, and we evolve in very different ways. I have friends from school, who just haven't moved on. They live in the same village. They wear the same clothes. They wear the same, they've got the same high school boyfriend. I go back and I look and I go, I literally like, that's my nightmare. So, I don't know. I think I just decided there and then, I'm like, I'm not going to beat myself up for any man that I slept with. And I don't want my daughter to feel like she can't have a one night stand. And, you can't tell anyone if it ever happens, because then you're an absolute whore and you're going to be burnt at the stake. And I don't want my daughter to feel like, that she needs to grab a husband before the age of 30. And I don't want her to feel like if she does make a mistake, because, a lot of times you just don't know who you are, or you change, that it's the end of the world. There's plenty more fish in the sea.
I like that idea of like taking away judgment from all of it. But I feel like when you do have a parent or grandparent that's like constantly putting that on you, how do you either tune it out or like take bits and pieces from the older generations? Because I'm sure there's some things that we can take from them and learn.
There's lots of things. I mean, I love my grandparents, and they were incredibly old fashioned. My grandmother didn't even know how to like pay a bill, because grandpa did it all. She never used a credit card. She, just everything. They're very, very, it was a very old fashioned life. They lived in Park Lane and had, drove their Rolls Royce around, and grandma was always in the back. So she'd never had a credit card. Grandpa paid everything. And, they were very, very sort of, I don't know.
It was the time, don't you think, Caroline? I mean, that was the times also. It's really a different era. And you can't do what you did in the 50s and 60s in 2022. It's a different world.
Mhm.
Too much opportunity.
Yeah,
now.
especially for women, especially for women. And you're a living example of that, no question.
There's so much opportunity now out there to do what you want, and I think that's exactly it, actually, because in not that older days, but you just didn't have, the world wasn't this small. It was much harder to get around, and and there weren't the mobile phones, and there weren't all the just distractions we have today. Women were at home. You're just. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm just saying it's the time. There is no way around
reality.
it.
Yeah.
It's a reality.
Right.
You're actually faced with it. So there's no point telling your daughter that she will, go to hell if she marries the wrong man and divorces him. Absolutely not. You won't. Hopefully, I'm not saying get divorced. Hopefully you won't.
Right.
But if you do, big deal.
Yeah.
It's
And
okay. Next.
you've been living in Dubai for quite a while. Like, I mean, I don't know if you see with your daughters or even with your friends who are dating, like, is the culture there similar to the United States? Because I know a lot of areas are like very religious.
Or London, where Caroline originally, I gather, is from.
Well, London is probably similar to the US.
Oh, not really.
Well, I mean, Dubai is, it depends. You've got to remember, Dubai is only 19% local. So it's all expats. So we live very, very like normal lives here. But the locals, it's very different. Like obviously, marriage is much more
rigid.
Rigid, exactly. And it's still got the old-fashioned roles of the women looking after the men. But they've come on leaps and bounds even since I've been here. With sort of more modern marriages. But I also like that about the way here, because you are taught that marriage is completely sacred. It's not as easy as to get divorced as it is maybe in other countries. And it's a catch-22, isn't it? Because if you're really miserable, you should be let out, and if you and so you shouldn't be sat for a moment, in my mind, unhappy, because there's no need. But then I also believe that us in the Western world let ourselves go too easily. Oh well, I'm off, I've seen someone better. So there's a middle ground, and I don't know if we've found it yet.
Now, I'm just curious, how did you choose Dubai? Because you didn't start out there, versus London. I mean, did you go to work there, or was there a specific reason that you decided to settle there?
Yeah, so I had just finished Ladies of London, which is another show that you won't know.
Definitely.
I loved it. It was like my favorite. Yeah,
it's great. I just finished Ladies of London, and my then husband was always working, actually, for the most of our married life in Kazakhstan, which was 11 hours from London. So I think he felt that Dubai, they were opening an office here, and it's only a 2-hour trip or 3-hour trip now to Kazakhstan. So it just meant that he could, be with his children more. So I followed him.
Okay.
I didn't think I would be here as long as I have been and love it as much as I do. And now I honestly can't imagine being anywhere else, except maybe America eventually.
Okay.
I want
you have a dual citizenship still? Or are you? Yeah. Okay.
So we're a few episodes into season 1 of Real Housewives of Dubai. What was it like returning to reality TV after all of these years?
Well, I mean, it's been, at the beginning I think it was very funny, because one of my really good girlfriends is just starting her first ever reality TV show out here. And she calls me up yesterday going, I'm having a mental breakdown. This is a nightmare.
Wait, is it Lindsay Lohan?
No.
Oh.
No, she would know what it's like. This is just literally my girlfriend here, who's opened her own real estate company, and they're following her for a channel here. But anyway, the funny part is she just calls up and she goes, how do you do it? It's a job on your job, and it's the hardest thing I've ever done. And I said, because she said, you made it look so easy, because no one understands how hard this is. I work I have the podcast, I have a shoe line, I work for many big brands here. I've probably, 4 or 5 big brands that want deliverables every week or whatever it is. Hair, makeup, all the things that go with it, right? And all the podcast, these things. Plus, and so when you're working for lots of people, not just yourself, it's like having like 8 different bosses. Plus, you have to do a reality show, which is scheduling and it's a full-time job on all of those jobs, so and the 3 kids and it's
But you have
absolutely
3
nuts.
children. I don't know.
Yeah.
You're like a super mom. You're terrific.
Well, I mean, I don't know if they tell you that. It's very hard, because I'm never around. I'm just always working. But I mean, it's been really difficult finding that balance. Actually, we're just about to go off together now, all of us, for the summer. But it was a shock to go back to the system, but I'm back, and it's bits of it I love and bits of it I find very, very hard.
And how'd your kids react to filming? Do they want to be a part of it? I know obviously waivers have to be signed to if they are going to be on it, so I'm sure it's a discussion beforehand.
Yeah, I spoke to them all before, and I spoke to them all about it, and obviously I said to them, it's easier just to sign, and then on the day that you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. I mean, you're not going to force children to appear.
Right.
It's a grown-up show. If they, my daughter's super into it, then you'll see a bit of.
How old is she?
She's 16.
Okay,
and
so
then I have exactly, it's fun. And then I have one son that kind of likes to play ball, and the other one has literally 0 shits given.
So your biggest beef this season so far has probably been with Chanel Ayan. You don't have to obviously like everyone in life, but I'm curious, when you're recording a show, like, do you feel like you have to kind of, I don't know, get along or force it? Or do you feel like you kind of are like, all right, I don't like her in real life and I don't like her on the show, and I'm not going to fake anything?
Or is it all made up for television or for the reality show?
It's not. I wish I could tell you this terrible behavior is made up for the reality show, but it's sadly not. Look, I think I don't get on with Chanel in real life or on TV life. And I think obviously you go into it and you kind of think, okay, when you get cast for something like this, even if you don't like someone before, you kind of think, okay, I'm going to go in with a whole new attitude, and maybe it will work.
Mm-hmm.
But it just doesn't. It just, for whatever reason, just really doesn't.
But doesn't that make better TV?
Well, it does for you, not for me.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Because
Yes.
people like to see the strife and the irritation with each other. If everybody's lovey-dovey and everyone gets along, it's not much fun. So the trauma between the two probably adds to the popularity.
100%. And it's a news show, so all of this probably helps. But it's not on. I wish I could tell you, as I said, we were the great actresses and this was part of the plan, but it's not. It just, some people in life just aren't meant to be
Together.
bedfellows, and I guess that's us.
And do you talk to any of the women when you're not filming?
All of them except Chanel and Lisa.
Interesting. Okay. So what else can we expect this season? I know we're going to see the wedding with Sergio.
Are you remarried?
Yes.
Okay.
Which we're going to get into all of that.
Good.
What else can we look
Wedding,
forward to?
new house build, baby, trying to have a baby, all of these kind of things. So I literally did everything on that show that's meant to be, one life experience. That's the most hard thing to do in life. I decided to do all of them in the space of 3 months.
When it rains, it pours.
Yes.
And I guess you're doing Watch What Happens Live tonight, but this will air after. Are you excited, nervous? What was the last time you were on?
6 yeyears ago, but I've done it. I think this is my 4th time.
Okay.
So no, it was really nice because the studio is so small. It just feels like you're sitting in your own living room. So it's really nice.
You do. We're on the.
And I'm doing it with Dorit tonight. So, and I love Dorit. I was always sort of fascinated by her. So that was nice. And I'd met her husband, and it was just really easy and really fun. And obviously, you'll see me doing shot skis tonight.
Yes. She's going to bring it with a look though. Do you know what you're wearing?
I do. Do you think I'm not going head to head with Dorit?
No, definitely not. But you'll both kill it, I'm sure. Yeah. What have the reactions been of the people in Dubai when they found out about the show and then also watching it so far?
The reaction was quite hard to begin with because I think, obviously there's no reality TV over here. I don't think there's been an international show like this out of the Middle East ever anyway. So people are always scared of new things, aren't they? And how they're portrayed. And I think, the biggest hurdle was the name because they hadn't quite grasped that Real Housewives of Dubai didn't mean Real Housewives of literally Dubai.
Right.
So,
The fantasy, it's aspirational, or
well,
Okay.
I mean, we don't depict Middle Eastern housewives
Yeah.
at
Right.
all.
I
So
see.
that's what they,
Right.
couldn't get their head round. If you put a whole load of Emirati housewives in a show, they wouldn't be doing what we're doing. So I think that confused a lot of people. But now I think people are so we're only episode 3 and there's a long way to go. So, I think people are beginning to enjoy it through their fingers.
Okay.
And
And you film it all in Dubai.
Everything.
It's all filmed there.
hmm So I think, I think it's exciting for some people and other people think it's, whatever, but like it's a hit. Whatever we're doing, and we're polarizing people, but they're watching. So
And then when it comes to the people like in the US or in the Western world, I know like when you think of Dubai, or at least when I did, you think of like gender equality and LGBTQ issues. How do you hope that watching this show will kind of change our perspective of Dubai?
Not much.
I think that you're going to see how tolerant there's a minister of tolerance here and a minister
Oh.
of happiness. I think you're going to see how tolerant Dubai is and how many different, how multicultural it is. It's insane. Like everybody lives here.
Interesting.
Great.
Okay, I want to talk about your romance and your husband because your relationship is goals. How did you meet Sergio?
Before I had my podcast, it was a podcast, but I did a live tour, and just before the pandemic actually, and I was doing a live tour. My first actual one was in Newport Beach. I'd never been to Newport Beach, and
California.
Sergio was in the audience,
Hmm.
and he was hot, and he was really good too. I don't, he's Spanish, so I don't think he knew where he was, to be honest. I think he just heard there was going to be a whole load of girls, down in this room. So he sort of wandered on down to see what was going on.
Did he approach you or did you approach him?
He came up to me in the VIP room, but actually I was looking at him for a girlfriend of mine because I was really newly separated, separated as well. So I wasn't really thinking anything more, but then at the end I kept catching his eye. Yeah, there was so much chemistry in the show. I kept catching his eye, and you know how they always tell you to imagine your audience naked. I was like, oh, I can't do that. And when he left, I was outside with my producer on the steps, and I remember I turned to my producer and I said, "There goes my future husband."
Oh, no way. Everyone always says that they say that. And it's
did.
So I say it every time I meet someone and it never happens.
Well, I guess it's very rarely. Yeah. She's lucky.
Yeah. Sergio is 18 years younger. Do you feel like, I know in the media, he was being called like a toy boy. How do you feel when people say that? And do you feel like you get a lot of judgment since normally it's the other way around, I guess, that a guy is older?
Yeah, when a man does it, they don't get judged.
Yeah.
Thank you, Grandma.
I mean,
I'm with you. I'm actually it made 8 headlines in 8 different countries. It's shocking. And you'd literally think I was Hugh Hefner. I don't know why. I think, yeah, judgment. People wanted to see me fall flat on my face. Obviously, I mean, he was really young when I met him. He lied to me. He was 31 when I met him, and he was 24 really.
Oh,
so I know Benjamin Button went backwards, and I was like, oh, when I found out he was 24, I was like, oh my God, I'm going to jail. And then, I don't know, somehow it works. It really works. We've been together 3 years now. My kids.
Does he want to have a family?
I mean, he does. We've frozen an embryo.
Okay.
We have a little baby boy on ice.
Oh, okay. Because I mean, really, he is young. He's a young man.
He's 28 now.
Right.
And
he would be good for Kimberly.
No,
I know.
He's taken.
I know. He really would, though. but she's too young for him.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
likes older women.
Yes.
But I mean, it's been great, you know. And on the other hand, other people really, I think, are beginning to see it's real now.
Okay.
Mhm.
And the
Great.
toy boy thing, look, he's always going to be my toy boy, isn't he? Regardless of how old he gets. And
Right.
so
It's
I think
love.
he wears it now as a badge of honor. And he's also married me, so he's, you know,
Is he in the show as well?
Mhm.
he's very funny.
So the both Grandma Gail and Caroline, you both talk about like being in around younger people and that kind of giving you energy and like feeling more youthful yourself. But when do you think, I guess I'll ask the question to both of you, like when does it get cringy? Like, are there any lines you feel like you can cross over a certain age? Like if you're 50, can you wear a crop top or like partying all night long? Like when is it not okay?
Who's going first?
Well, I'll
Um,
go for. I don't think there are any rules. I mean, if you're 50 and you want to wear a crop top, go ahead. As long as you look good in it. I mean,
Yeah.
go for it. I think it's your self perception of where you are in life, and if you want to hang out with young women or young men, you know what, that's that. I think we're at the point, even I, who am really old, say go, you should be happy. And really, that's part of the things we talk about on the podcast. You really should be happy and not be judged. I think judging somebody else is really wrong. That's my
I think,
take.
yeah, I agree. I mean, we were just having this conversation today about crop tops because I've got a few. But I always wear them with super high trousers so that my stomach is covered. So it's kind of a false thing, you know, it looks like you're in a crop top, but you're not really. And or, you know, it's just learning which bits. Like today, I hate my chest lines, so I try to find, you know, tops like this. And it's just hiding certain things, but you know, as for my friends being younger, well, my husband is a child, and I've got the brain of a child. So I think we're both
It's a
going to.
perfect match.
It's a perfect match. And he does keep me young, and he does give me sort of energy. And but I am a kind of crazy person anyway. So I think that if you're hanging out with young people, it's because they want to be with you. You can't force them to hang out with you, and you know, it's what your soul is, really, isn't it?
yeah.
What about her podcast? What
Yeah.
about your podcast?
Divorce, not dead. That was my next point.
Yeah,
So
oh,
thanks for
good,
jumping
because
ahead.
that's what I really wanted to
Um,
hear.
Well, I guess my first question really is like, do you think it was harder to get back into dating in your 40s, like compared to when you were dating in your 20s, or was there really no difference?
I mean, I didn't even get to date, did I? Literally. I
Right, because you
mean,
met him right away, I guess.
yeah, right away married him. So I was actually super excited. I wanted to go on, like, all my girlfriends were using like Raya and
Yeah.
Tinder and all of these things, and I was like, oh. And I remember when I was married, I used to pop over to my girlfriend's house and help her
Swipe
swipe,
through.
doing exactly what you do. I was
Yeah.
like, this is like playing Snap, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a go on one of these. And I, you know, I just never got to do it. But then, you know, I also saw the dark side of it too. So you know, there's a catch 22. I'm really happy that I met Sergio, and like, I mean, I kind of feel like it was Kim Kardashian's just said, you know, she was when she broke up with Kanye, she was DTF, down to fuck.
Yes.
Yeah, and I think I was probably there and didn't think that, you know, Sergio was going anywhere long
Mhm.
term with me. Um, but I married him, so.
Mhm. So, do you think like with when it comes to starting a new chapter after divorce, I guess everyone kind of comes to it at a different point. Like you seemed pretty ready to meet someone. Sometimes people aren't. Do you have like general advice for women about how to start that next chapter?
I mean, I just think my advice to women is to, if you've made the hard decision to get divorced, and you know, women don't just wake up in the morning and go, I'm off, you know, regardless of meeting someone else or anything else. You can't take someone that isn't ready to be taken, right? So, you know, we can all look at a handsome man, but it doesn't mean you're running off with him.
Mm.
So I think by the time a woman has left, she's already, you know, spent quite a few years or months,
Out.
whatever, leaving in her head. before that. So I would say that if you've been able to make that decision and make that move, don't question yourself, because so many women live with that terrible regret, or what if, or should I have? And I just think I sort of have this way where I can compartmentalize, which is like I just close a door. I mean, I spent 18 years in that marriage, and I look at pictures now and I barely recognize or remember that's part of my life. I've moved so far on, and I try and always say, look forward, don't look back, because you can't live there. I have women friends of mine that have just collapsed after getting divorced, and it's so sad, because you need to sort of go forward in with life.
I think you have to grieve the loss of a relationship, and then, as you say, move on.
Sometimes you grieve it while you're still in it.
I think that's what most women do.
Right.
Because,
and that's why sometimes you stay in the relationship.
Yes, because it's not, that's exactly what I'm saying. I think most women do the grieving for their relationship in the relationship.
That's
because
true.
they've understood. By the time you've left, you've already gone through all this thing, my children, my this, how's my life going to be with, I remember lying in bed thinking, oh, I can't get divorced. I'm going to miss the noise. I need to be with my kids every day. How am I going to wake up without them and go to sleep without them? All of that stuff was the stuff that held me there. But actually, I realized I sort of tortured myself for much longer than I should have. And the life after divorce isn't terrible. The kids, I get them 1 week, and we're only down the road from each other, and invariably one of them comes home when on his week anyway. So my house is and every weekend they're here. They because they like their room. So I'm never alone. And frankly, the 3 or 4 days that I do get some time on my own, I'm quite happy to have peace.
Another topic you talk about on your podcast that I thought was interesting was you said like not to equate love or finding love with financial stability, and not to kind of think about money when see that face. This is why I'm bringing that up. I think Grandma is going to disagree with that.
I'm going to disagree, but I want to hear what Caroline has to say. I also, did Caroline have her own money when she went into her first marriage?
No, look, I had enough money to have my own house, but I had to pay all the bills.
Right.
So, but that's not, I still, my parents taught me to look for money. And my grandparents wanted money. I've come from an old English aristocratic family. We're in Debrett's. Like, you think they wanted me just marrying the guy off the street? No, I was a debutante. Absolutely not. What I've learned is, and that's not to say, look, Sergio came with his own money, but not a lot of it compared to what I have, right? Because he was 24 years old. I mean, how rich were you at 24?
Right.
So it's just different, right? But I know he got his master's, he got his degree. He's not stupid. He'll get there. He's smart, and and also having been a soccer player and got his master's and his degree while he was playing soccer. That shows to me he sticks at things. He's determined, and he's not lazy. So therefore, I can work with that, right? And I've been with money, or had that kind of thing. And let me tell you, when Sergio has it, my birthday present this year was bigger than anything that my ex-husband gave me, in the form of a check. So there you go, which was really, really nice, and as a complete surprise. And also things like, for me, I just want a relaxed household. If I'm happy and relaxed and I'm not stressed, I can make money. I'm happy. I don't need a giant house. In fact, my parents brought me up in like a 25 bedroom bloody castle, and it was just more hassle than it's worth, and it's a money pit, and it's just stressful, and all you do is have to entertain other people, and I just don't want that life. Sergio and I've just bought a beautiful house. It was going to be perfect, and it's like 6,300 square feet,
which is still pretty big.
Yeah.
Our audience will be shocked. I mean, that's still considered.
You're in New York, aren't you?
Right.
Yeah. So everything's I'm not, but so that's small. That's for great. Me, and it's I just don't. I look for different things now, and I know that Sergio will grow into the man that I need him to be, because he loves me so much, and that's it, and that's enough.
That's great.
Good enough for you?
No, well, this guy sounds like a dream.
Yeah.
But most people aren't as lucky as she.
Well, I
is.
guess like, of course, if it's between happiness and like
I think you
financial
need a
stability,
little
like
bit.
hopefully people pick happiness, but I guess the goal is like both.
Well, no, I think it makes it easier. Nobody has to. What I've always said is, there's certain focuses that you end up having fights over, and it's usually sex and money. So, or children. So those are your three things. There's very little else to fight about. We're not settling world issues. And if you have it, it makes life a little easier. That's all. I
It
don't.
makes life easier, but I've had girlfriends of mine who've married money and ended up with
That's
none because
right.
unless they're literally writing you a check when she goes down the aisle, it's not her money. So at the end of the day, she's still in the same position, and with that money normally comes a woman that needs to be subservient, move into his world, put her, and that is your world, but it's probably not, it's not Kim's world, right? So
Right.
Kim sounds like she's quite feisty and funny, and she doesn't
She
want to
is.
move into some guy's house and just put one photo down and say, okay, I'm okay with that, and be subservient to him. And so that's, two income houses are great. And that, also the generation that you grew up in, compared to today is completely different. They don't have
Completely.
these giant, jobs anymore where everybody's making $1 million bonuses, $2 million bonuses anymore. So it's really a two-income team house, and to be a team you have to that's built on love. And I've been watching a load of documentaries lately, weirdly, of some of the most successful couples, and one of them always takes the back seat to the other,
That's true.
and builds a brand together, and has pushed each other as one team, one house, one purse. And that's sometimes way more powerful than what you probably wanted for Kim, which is what my parents wanted, which was some banker wanker who brought home jewelry to me for Valentine's Day, and I lived in this, it just doesn't follow your heart, Kim.
Thank you. So I want to end the episode with a game we play with all our guests called Grandma Gail's old-fashioned dating quiz. So basically we go through some scenarios, hypotheticals, and we will deem whether you are more of a modern dater or more of a traditional
I know the
dater.
answer already. So.
I don't.
Okay.
Okay. So the first one is, would you rather receive a call or a text from the person you're with if it's just to say hi?
Oh God, probably a text. Isn't that awful?
No, I'm the same. Would you sleep with someone on the first date?
Yeah.
Dating apps or setups?
Or maybe a setup.
Okay. Move in together before getting engaged, or wait until you're engaged or married to live together?
Move in. Know what you're buying.
And who should pay for the date? Should it be one person, or should you split or alternate?
Him. But I mean, if it's all the time, it's always nice to take one. But he should be the first date, 100%.
Okay, well, more of a modern dater,
Absolutely.
but too traditional in there, so a little mixed. Okay, Caroline, thank you so much for joining us. Tell our listeners how they can follow you and watch Housewives.
Thank you for having me. And you can follow me on Caroline Stanbury. You can go on all platforms for podcasts, Apple, Spotify, etc., for Divorce Not Dead, and see Stanbury on Twitter. And every Wednesday night after Housewives of Beverly Hills, I think is I'm not in America, so I think it's Housewives of Dubai.
Oh, I'm going to watch it now, pal, and I'm so
100%.
excited. I can't wait.
Hope you guys enjoyed the episode with Caroline this week. It was so great talking with her, and I'm excited for the rest of this season. And you guys should check out her podcast, Divorce Not Dead, if you want to learn a little bit more about her and divorce.
Well, I think divorce her style.
Yeah,
she
maybe
is a
not
unique-
Grandma Gail style.
Not Grandma Gail style, but she's certainly very entertaining.
Okay, and you guys know how to follow us on Instagram. It's at Excuse My Grandma. Same thing on TikTok. Rate us 5 stars. If you haven't yet, share with your friends.